Thanks, Madam Chairman. Secretary Jewell, good to see you again here today. I'd like to follow up on an item that we discussed last week at the Energy and Natural Resources Committee hearing. And I mentioned the importance of incorporating Montana's state plan into the BLM's sage-grouse conservation efforts. And I'd like to know, what is the status of finalizing the BLM's RMPs as it pertains to sage-grouse conservation?
Thanks for the question. To say that the work going on the sage-grouse with states is unprecedented is an understatement. It's a phenomenal amount of effort on the part of states, the BLM, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and parts of USDA to really orchestrate an understanding of these ecosystems in a way such that we hope that a listing will not be warranted. The BLM plans are in place and being finalized right now. The state plans are in different stages but are also being finalized. There's been very close cooperation between states and the BLM and the Fish and Wildlife Service throughout this process. So you can see the BLM plans finalized this spring, and state plans are in different stages depending on which state they are.
Right, and again, we have a couple senators here from Montana. We'll be curious about that plan. Will these plans mirror the stipulations in the Montana state plan?
I have not looked at the details of the Montana plan the state plan relative to the BLM plans. I do know there has been close cooperation between the state and the BLM as these have been developed. So I wouldn't expect there to be radical differences, as we've talked about with the checkerboarding, but
right.
That's something that I'll look into.
Yeah, because with the checkerboard nature certainly of our lands in Montana, those sage-grouse don't know whether they're on a BLM section, a state section, or a private section. And
Understand.
we just would like to have the state have primacy there to get that all aligned on one plan that would reflect a lot of work going on back home in Montana for the folks who are closest to the bird. We all want to ensure we protect the sage-grouse and prevent the listing.
I understand.
I'd like to move over to the to LWCF, and I want to thank you for recognizing the importance of LWCF to Montana in your budget. As a sportsman and someone who represents the men and women who enjoy the outdoors in Montana, it's very important back home. In a state like Montana, we have a lot of public lands, about a third of our state. Are you aware of the number of acres of federal land in Montana and frankly across the West that are inaccessible to the public?
A major part of our effort with LWCF is addressing that. There are private land holdings that sometimes prevent people to getting to the public lands, very, very important for sportsmen and women and anglers. So there is actually a proposal in our budget to identify a portion of the LWCF money specifically for access. And I would say that when we have an opportunity to use conservation easements for access as opposed to acquisitions, that can help make our money go farther. So we're definitely planning to do more of that, and it certainly is a big factor within your state.
And do you have a sense of what portion of the budget you might propose that be used for increasing access to both federal and state lands? We have about 2 million acres in Montana right now that are inaccessible to the public.
I want to say that there's, help me out, you guys.
8.5 in discretionary funding.
Okay, 8.5 million in discretionary funding is specifically for access, and then there is another chunk in the mandatory proposal, specifically earmarked for that.
So I think we'd all agree that the LWCF is one of our important tools we have to increase access to public lands.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And by the way, I'm glad to see some of the Montana projects on the list here this morning. That you see, we've got the Trumbull Creek Watershed, we've got a couple High Divide projects in Beaverhead, Deer Lodge, and Gallatin, so we'll look forward to work with you on that, Secretary Jewell. Last, I'd like to talk a little about coal. And I want to thank you for accommodating the request from the state of Montana, from the Montana delegation, Senator Tester and myself, to extend the comment period for the new coal valuation rule that was issued on January 6, 2015. Last week in the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee, in reference to the new coal valuation rule, you stated that the proposed rule will, quote, streamline and make the process more efficient, providing more certainty on the return we should be getting for the American people. I'd like to perhaps better understand the base of that assertion. I'm hearing from stakeholders back in Montana that the rule contains ambiguities, uncertainties, which actually act as a disincentive to mine coal. And we're concerned with less coal produced. That's going to reduce royalty payments, reduce the taxes that coal companies pay, and it's going to add to the federal deficit.
Well, thank you, Senator. The coal rules are a proposal, and so that's part of the benefit of the comment period, is to hear comments for how people believe it's going to impact them. We have been criticized from a number of different sectors for not getting a fair return for taxpayers on coal. When what we have been doing is criticized and ends up in court, that slows things down dramatically. We're trying to put in place rules that identify a fair value for taxpayers that we believe will clear this up. But we welcome comments during the comment period on these coal rules, and if people feel that there's a concern, we welcome comments on how to make that more streamlined.
Yeah, have you calculated the impact to coal production based on the new ONRR rule, what that might do?
I have not personally. I'm not sure if my team has. Mike, do you know?
Okay. It'd be like to, I mean, as a follow-up there, we could take a look at what impact that's going to have in declining coal production. Or is it going to increase it or decrease it? I'd like to get a sense from the Department of Interior of where you see that's headed.
If I can answer quickly, I know we're out of time. I will say that the regulations are only one part of an equation on whether or not a company chooses to go through that. There are economics at play, global economics really, and so I'm not sure how much we're going to be able to isolate as associated with our rule as opposed to the broader issues of a commodity, how it's priced, and what that does to the overall economics.
Thank you, Madam